imagine that you're walking down the street and someone you know is walking towards you on the other side in the opposite direction, and you wave and they don't wave back. How do you feel? Some people in this scenario might feel angry. Others might feel sad. Other people might feel anxious or worried that they've done something wrong or something to upset their friend. And yet other people might feel amused or maybe nothing at all. How can different people respond so differently to what appears to be the exact same situation? And how does this scenario have anything to do with IBS? Well, this all has to do with the way that we think, because how we think can create different emotional responses inside of us. And some of those responses can really create a lot of stress. And stress impacts the ability of your gut to do its job smoothly and efficiently. So if you can reduce your stress in response to life events, you can help reduce your gut symptoms. So going back to the friend walking down the street scenario, if you think to yourself, seriously, I can't believe she'd do that. Why would she ignore me? You'd probably feel pretty angry. If, however, you think, oh, what did I do to upset her? I must have done something wrong. You might start feeling worried, or you might even feel sad. And if you think to yourself, she's probably got a lot going on, you'll probably feel quite neutral about the situation and really not feel stressed at all. The point is, it's not really the objective situation itself that determines how we feel. The situation, no matter how we interpret it, is the same. We waved to someone we knew and they didn't wave back. It's actually our belief about the situation that determines how we feel, and our beliefs and our thoughts are very powerful. So if you believe in our friend not waving scenario that they were deliberately ignoring you, you'd probably feel angry and react coldly the next time you see them. But your behaviour will likely be very different if you believe that they genuinely didn't see you. So there is a strong connection between the objective situation, your beliefs, and how you feel. So with this connection in mind, I want you to think back to a recent situation or an event from your own life that was stressful for you. And this may or may not be a situation in which your gut acted up. And if you need to, you can pause this video. Okay, so now you've brought to mind a time, I want you to think back and identify what thoughts you had in response to that situation. So this would include any beliefs you had about what happened, such as why it happened or how you thought it was going to end. This also includes any judgments you made about yourself and other people. For example, I should or I shouldn't have done that thing. I really made a mess out of that. Oh, this always happens to me. I knew I should have stayed at home. I just knew that was going to happen. Again, if you need to, pause the video while you think back. Okay, so hopefully you can identify some of the thoughts you had. And now I want you to think about the different emotions you felt. Did you feel anxious or sad? Were you worried or scared or angry, annoyed or frustrated? Can you start to see how your thoughts led to the emotions that you felt and you experienced in your body? In fact, I've created a free worksheet to help you understand this connection even better. And you can download that worksheet using the link just down below this video. And look, here's the interesting thing about our feelings. There's no such thing as a right or a wrong feeling. They just are. Our feelings are just an inevitable consequences of the beliefs and the thoughts that we have. But our beliefs and our thoughts can be right or wrong. Just because we believe something doesn't make it true, even if we believe it very strongly and feel absolutely certain that we are right. And to demonstrate this point, again, thinking back to our friend not waving scenario again, someone can be thinking all kinds of negative and upsetting things about why their friend didn't wave back to them. They may be absolutely convinced that their friend ignored them on purpose, and they may have become very upset as a result. Now, if their friend just didn't see them, they'll be upset for no reason, and they'll be experiencing a whole lot of unnecessary stress. You see, there is an objective reality out there. And in this situation, either their friends saw them or they didn't. But how can we tell? Well, when we're in the heat of the moment, it can be really difficult or even impossible to know. And that's why we tend to just accept our first gut response or automatic thought. And we do this without questioning it or challenging it. And so one of the keys to reducing stress in your life is to make sure that your beliefs are as accurate as possible and to catch yourself when you jump to conclusions. Because if you can start catching yourself and start seeing things differently in a different way, you can save yourself a lot of worry, anxiety, stress, and pain. But the problem for many of us is that we usually don't think about other ways to look at a situation which are less upsetting, especially when we've started to have a strong emotional reaction. So if you're feeling angry and sad about something, it's likely you won't just stop and try and see things in a different light. In fact, the instant that we have a negative thought, it usually sets off a cascade of reactions, including negative emotions and physical symptoms. And this makes it really hard to take a step back and think objectively. And what if you can't think of a different way to see a situation? What if you're sitting there watching this video and saying, yes, Jayne, I get it, but there really is no other way to see what happened. And if that's you, I get it. And so I want to share a few different ways to do this. So number one, I want you to imagine a friend came to you with a similar situation. What would you say to them? Often it's easier to see alternatives for other people than for ourselves. Number two is to actually run the situation by a friend and get their take on it. When you do this, make sure that you describe the situation as objectively as possible and then ask them what they think may have been going on. Now, even if they don't come up with a different way to see things, they're likely going to come up with a different set of thoughts, which could help you see things differently. Number three, remind yourself of the information you've missed about the situation. So back to our friend not waving scenario. Oh, that's right. She separated from her partner last week. Oh, she's got so much going on. This may feel more believable than she just didn't see me, because it doesn't ignore the actual objective behavior. Your friend didn't wave. So it takes into account what happened, but also provides a more benign explanation of why it happened and what it meant. Number four. Now, one issue that can come up is that you can think of alternative ways to see a situation, but you just don't believe them. It's as though something about the situation convinces you that the more stressful interpretation is the correct one. And you might be right. But how can you tell? Well, we need to examine the evidence. Again, back to our original scenario. If your friend called you a few days ago to set up a catch-up, it's unlikely that they were deliberately ignoring you. If, on the other hand, you've sent several voicemails and sent several text messages and they just haven't responded, well, they may be trying to tell you something. And then the question becomes what to do about it. And you'll find that you'll likely have thoughts and beliefs that make you feel more or less optimistic about taking action. Okay, number five. So maybe you've been successful in coming up with some alternatives. This alternative makes sense. You might believe it intellectually, but at a deeper emotional gut level, you still feel awful. You still feel distressed about what happened and you just can't shake that feeling. This is usually a clue that there's some other thought that you haven't yet identified. So you might believe that your friend just didn't see you when they walked down the street, but what you're really thinking about is how few friends you have, how isolated you feel where you live, and how you have no one to go out with at the weekend. So if this is the underlying thought in this situation, then convincing yourself that your friend just didn't see you won't make you feel better, because this isn't why you're feeling anxious or feeling sad. Let me know down in the comments if you can relate to this. Now, sometimes when my clients learn about these techniques, they think it's a question of learning how to see a glass as half full instead of a glass as half empty. But what I'm actually asking you to do is something entirely different. Using cognitive interventions, I'm asking you to look at the glass and say to yourself, it's a 300 ml glass with 150 ml of water in it. This response is true. The other responses are either positively or negatively biased, meaning the glass is half full or half empty. But the most objective way of looking at the glass is with no bias at all, and how you feel about that glass of water will depend how thirsty you are. So if you just need a sip, then 150 ml of water is enough. But if you've just finished a long run or a workout and are feeling really thirsty, then 150 ml won't be enough. So this whole approach is not about pretending that things are going well when they're not. In fact, this just doesn't work because you just don't believe it. Rather, this approach is helping you to learn to see the world as accurately as possible. But this isn't so simple because we often have negative filters or biases that we view the world through, and we often do it without realizing. And if this is you, then you'll likely be a lot more stressed in life than you need to be. So another message here is, don't believe everything you think. I want you to start seeing the world as it actually is. So begin by writing down your thoughts and feelings about a situation in the worksheet, which you can download below this video. And from here, you can start to look at situations more objectively. You might also find some common themes in the way you respond to situations. For example, do you tend to respond with anger or anxiety? Do you tend to blame yourself or tend to blame other people for things not working out? Being able to change the relationship that you have with your thoughts is powerful, because if you can start to change the way you see a situation and reduce your stress levels, then this will have a really positive effect on your digestion and your gut. That's because stress impacts the ability for your gut to do its job the way it should. And the next video really dives into the vicious cycle of IBS, stress, and anxiety, and will help you make even more sense of what's happening inside of your gut.